Okay, going to go ahead and call the our CRA meeting to order and ask everyone to stand while Commissioner Christian gives us an invocation and leads us to the pledge.
Let us all stand, bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day which you've made. We rejoice and we're glad in it. We're glad in the fact, God, that you made us and how you shine down on a wonderful city such as Leesburg to provide so many wonderful people. We're grateful for the staff that you provide here in Leesburg, our management, our mayor, our city council that provide policy procedures to help run our city in an efficient way. We pray for our troops around the world that are fighting for the freedom that we all share and we enjoy. Thank for our first responders who go every day risking their lives to provide safety for our city. We pray, God, for prosperity and peace in our great city, that we can be a beacon of light to this world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we move on. We have our to approve our minutes from our January 22nd meeting. If we could have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Chairperson Roebuck?
Yes. And we have a purchase request here. Someone wants to introduce that.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Purchase request for furniture and fixtures in the West Leesburg Neighborhood Resource Center from Ernie Morris Enterprises, Inc., using the State of Florida contract for furniture and fixtures, not exceeding a total cost of $71,266.82.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, this was one that we brought back to save some money. It looks like staff came up with a $21,000 savings.
Yes.
So any other comments on that from the board?
No comments.
Comments? Okay.
I'd like to know, it really is when you drop the prices on that, will you getting, did you cut the furniture, the amount of furniture that's being placed in?
To reduce the price, we essentially reduced the quality of the furniture. We went to the next rung down, and with probably about 8 to 10 pieces of furniture. Mike, where's mine? That we took out. Not a whole lot of furniture we removed. We went down to the next rung of quality. We think we'll be okay where we're at. The other one, and that was kind of the difference in what we did. So we were recommending at the last meeting to spend a little bit more on furniture to get a little higher quality because it's going to have a lot of use. So we just went to the next rung down. We still think we'll have a good 5 to 7 years of use in that furniture. We wouldn't recommend going down any more, but that's where the savings is. It's lower quality furniture.
How much longer would the other furniture be expected to last?
What would you say on that? How much?
Pieces of the other would have a lifetime warranty.
Some of the other one would have a lifetime warranty. And we tried to give you a number in that too. I think Mike had spec'd out an average unit cost of like about $7 per square foot, and we're still under that. So we're okay with where we're at. I think you're still getting decent furniture, and you're saving about 20 grand.
Well, so we're going to have to replace it in 5 years, or?
I'm not going to make any promises on that. I think you've got quality furniture, desks, and these type of things. I think you're going to be okay with. I don't see us replacing those, but I think depending on the use and that kind of thing, you might have to throw a chair in there or two. I think you're still safe at that number. We wouldn't recommend you going any less.
I'm not thinking about less. I'm thinking
I
about
know, going
whether
the
we're
other way.
spending the money to, if we're going to have to turn around in 5 years and do it again.
I think you got a good compromise in there for what you're spending.
I'm just skeptical in 10 years we'd actually make a claim on a warranty. Someone's going to remember, hey.
I would.
Put them in a garbage can and staff just buy some more. Like they do all across the city now.
Any comments from the public on this item?
I did a side-by-side comparison of the last one and this one. Where you're getting most amount of your savings is in your entry area. What you did was, or what they did was, they took out kind of the sofa-type pieces or modular pieces that would create more of a like an in-home type seating, and they just replaced it with standard block, your standard chairs, like if you go into a doctor's office. That's where a lot of your savings is coming from with this. It looks like they also might have reduced some cafe tables and chairs where they took some of that out. Most of the offices stayed the same. A lot of the smaller offices run about $1,500 an office, and there's 3 offices that kind of stick out of the norm for that, and there's 2 of them that are over $3,000. You're looking at an office that's $3,600, and another office that's $3,400, and another office that's $2,500. The rest of them are an average of $1,595. A lot of those didn't change in the contract; they stayed the same. So you did get your chair to go away. Commissioner Christian, they did take it down to a $271 chair. But it's up, I don't see I'm not a furniture expert, but I do own an office, and we do buy furniture, and I kind of have a idea of how much we spend, just like you guys do, because you all have offices as well. And I just thought it was weird that we have 2 offices that are pushing $3,600, and it looks like it might be some frosted desk and stuff, and maybe there's a reason for that. I just haven't heard the reasoning behind it. Thanks.
Any other comments from the public? Comments from the board?
Yeah, just to address that, Al, is there any issues that, I assume that's the two bigger offices that are there, so.
Basically, Mike Thornton, purchasing manager, where we got our savings is we did downgrade some of the finishes. All the furniture still has a lifetime warranty, including the chairs. We also reduced some fixtures in the computer training room, and we also reduced the number of chairs in the big meeting room. And the installer reduced their fee by $7,000. So I think the furniture you have here, and I will say I am a furniture expert from this many years in the business. The furniture we have here is lifetime furniture. It's Hahn brand, it's good quality, it's going to hold up to the mixed use of this facility. So I don't think in 5 years you're going to have to replace furniture, or in 7 years. I have a desk set in my office, it's Hahn, lifetime warranty, it's 12 years old. It doesn't look any different than the day I bought it. So I think you've got good quality furniture here. I think we've gotten the price down as low as I would recommend without going to like a 3 or 5 year warranty furniture, and also without affecting the function of the facility. I think if we start eliminating more pieces, then you're going to lose function out of the facility.
And the 2 that are a little more than the others, is that the 2 offices that are a little more, is there a particular reason why?
I didn't analyze. I know a couple of the offices do have conference tables in them along with conference chairs, and those are probably for the service providers that are going to be small conference tables that are going to be using those particular offices.
Mike, how'd you get the drop 7,000 installed?
I asked them.
Thank you. Good job.
Because basically the way the state contract works is you have the % off list for Hahn, and then it's up to the installer to give you a price for them to actually deliver, put together whatever furniture needs assembly, and then install it into the building.
Thanks. And Ken's going to make a note that it's lifetime warranty.
And believe me, it is. I had a chair that's 15 years old, turned it in, they sent out new parts for it and had it installed, so.
Roll call?
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor? Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Chairperson Roebuck?
Yes. Okay, that's our last item. Roll call?
Commissioner Bone?
I just drove out to the Resource Center the other couple times here. Went out again the other night, and it looks really nice. Look forward to being open and out there.
Commissioner Christian?
Echo Commissioner Bone. I think I love the fact how the sidewalk comes right up to the entryway, so it looks like it's very inviting to the public. So I think that was a great design, and can't wait to the grand opening.
Commissioner Dennison?
Nothing right now, thank you.
Commissioner Connor?
No.
Chairperson Roebuck?
Nothing tonight. Okay, meeting adjourned. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. We've already done our pledge and invocation at our CRA meeting, so we will just start right off here with the consent agenda. We don't have any proclamations, do we? We got added? Okay. All right, so we can start with the consent agenda. Right, except for 4B4, we're gonna pull out. That's we're not gonna be discussing that one tonight. Anyone have any other items they need to pull on the consent agenda?
4B5 and 4B7, please.
Commissioner Boone,
No, I think the splash pad is the one there I had.
Commissioner Christian.
No, sir.
Okay, I need to pull 4C4 and 4C6. Oh, we already did 4C4. Oh, no, I thought it was 4B4. We pulled.
It was 4B5 and 4B7.
Oh, I do
Four-
need to pull 6. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know.
I need 4C6. I need to pull that one.
It was 4B4 is that we're not doing at all.
Oh,
I may have said that wrong. Okay, can we get a motion to approve the remaining items?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call?
Commissioner Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Robeck?
Yes. Now we have 4B4.
4B5.
4B5.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Purchase request for purchase and installation of splash pad surface material from Life Floor and Star Floors for new surface material at the city's splash pad for an amount of $47,901.14.
Motion to approve that?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion?
The reason I brought this up, since the original splash pad material, which was installed by the contractor, was substandard, are they paying for any of this? Because it obviously is a warranty issue.
Yeah, and I think that's a tricky question. The short answer to your question is no. The contractor's not paying for it. The issue that we think we have with the contractor and internally is, what liability he has for providing a surface that we are ultimately not happy with. We don't think that, while we're not happy with the surface, the bottom line is we don't think we have any grounds to hold the contractor liable for their finished product. Having said that, we went through a number of modifications in different ways to try to fix it. I think we did a couple of where we scraped the surface, tried to get it working, and we just couldn't get it into a surface that we liked without doing something major. And we do think that the contractor lived up to what we spec'd. So there's the conundrum. So at the end of the day, we're actually going a completely different direction, which is to put more of a spongy type surface totally over the concrete. It's a similar surface to what's in Tavares. And unfortunately, this is post facto a little bit, but it seems to be run-of-the-mill with dealing with these splash pads. And at the silver lining in all of it is we still had some money left in the budget. So we think the long-term best solution is to spend the extra money, change the surface material, and solve the problem.
Mr. Morrison, have we opened ourselves up to any liability with the injuries that happened before this was done?
Injuries are injuries. There's nothing you can do about it. But fixing it's not going to make it any worse than
Okay.
it was before you got here today.
Good.
Other discussion?
Now, the only thing I would mention in this is that, do we have in the budget, do we set aside any money at all for maintenance of this or the playground itself, for replacing equipment or anything?
Yeah,
Is it-
we have our standard number in there. I mean, it's not a lot, and I can't tell you what it is off the top of my head, but it's one of our top priority maintenance items. So this gets broke, we'll fix it.
Okay.
And we've already, like for example, too, I think we're bringing forward to you, if we haven't already, the sunscreen for the playground. So we're making a priority, and I think Travis's folks and Public Works are doing a pretty good job maintaining it and keeping an eye on it.
Comments from the public?
Hi, I'm Caroline Van Dyken. I was one of the people that served on the splash pad committee to review the splash pad and the products that would go into the splash pad. Also, as a parent of a 12-year-old, I've seen many of splash pads throughout his little lifespan. Splash pads with concrete are not abnormal. There's concrete splash pads all over the United States. I visited some in Birmingham at the zoo. There's ones at Disney, at Epcot, and they're not slippery because whoever their contractor was did it correctly. In the process of picking out the splash pad information, the products, and we started to move on to the floor. With the contractor in the room, myself and there's another gentleman that was with me, both of us said, we do not want another Eustis. And he knew exactly what we were talking about because at the time we were picking the the splash pad pour and play, Eustis just had their slip and fall incident. We looked at the contractor, we said, again, we do not want another Eustis. What can you do to make sure we're not going to have this situation, because we don't want to be responsible for putting something out there that a kid's going to get injured on. And he said, oh, no, that's not going to happen. You have to understand, we rough up the concrete in a way. And I knew exactly what he was talking about because I've been on these concrete splash pads where kids do not slip and fall. I think that you have a contractor that did not do what we asked him to do. Now, whether or not you can get him to pay for the full $50,000 to replace it, or I understand where Al's at because he just wants the splash pad open. We just want the kids to enjoy it instead of getting into this long heated battle with them and making them pour it again. We've already made them pour it again. They still couldn't make it right. It's still rough on one side, smooth on the other. So obviously they're doing something wrong. And I just think that maybe the city pay for it and then maybe go after them and try to retrieve half of it. I think that, what Eustis did, I think, don't quote me on that, but I think they were able to recover at least half of the expense when their pour and play was done wrong. So just throwing that out there. It's a lot of money. It's $47,000. I want the kids of Leesburg to be happy. I want the splash pad to be open here next month. So I understand the concerns and the timeline but I also know $47,000 could do something else in that park as well. So, thanks.
Do you have copies of the minutes that were made during those meetings? Okay.
I'm sure somebody does because I was.
Well, I think, I'm very frustrated with this as well. But I think given that the contractors continue to work with us, we'd have to basically shut down the splash pad, let them continue to keep trying to fix it. We can't just say, no, you can't do anything to fix it. We're going to put in what we want and then just you pay for half of it. So I think, we'd literally have to shut down the splash pad and keep doing this, and people wouldn't be able to use it. So that's tough.
And I don't know, this is when you would seek your counsel on this, but how many times do you let a contractor try to correct something before you say enough's enough? Because I'm sure you've had this in situations with sidewalks or other type projects or in and around the city where private contractors have come in and not done it up to specs, and then you had to go back and say, look, you didn't pour this concrete curb correctly, and therefore the water's not draining correctly, so you need to tear it up and do it again. How many times do you let them tear it up and do it again before you say enough's enough? So that's what I'm just bringing.
Do you have thoughts on that, Fred?
I am not up to speed on the facts. I don't know what he's done, and I would say that if there's any notion of going after the contractor, you need to get somebody else who is an expert in that type of concrete finish to look at what's out there and render an opinion as to whether he thinks it's correct as it is or what's wrong with it if it's not correct, and sort of preserve that, because if you've just put a finish over it and then go after the contractor, you've got no way to prove that what he did was wrong. So the fact that people are falling on it doesn't necessarily prove anything. You've got to show that he did something incorrect or deficient. So the only thing I would say is if you're going to think about that, get an expert out there to give you an opinion.
So this is a totally different kind of surface than what was installed.
DC, Travis, you guys want to?
Yeah, I brought Travis Rama, Director of Recreation. I brought some samples here because I thought this would probably be be talked about. This is the life floor. It doesn't come with parts.
Okay.
They are 3x3 foot tiles that essentially the top of our current splash pad will be grinded off, and then the 3x3 foot tiles will be glued down on top of that.
Did we have anybody besides the contractor that did the work look at it from the standpoint of doing this, the job that was supposed to have been done the right way, or?
We brought in three attempts to correct or to look at and tell us how to fix the concrete. There were, at the time that it was initially done, there were a couple of areas that we could tell were obviously not done as well as we wanted them to, but there were a number of other areas that, to our inspection, looked perfectly fine. And for the last 3 months of operation, they had mats on top of them because that's where kids were slipping. So we did not have a different concrete contractor come in, but we on 3 different occasions had different finishers come in, guys who would look at the surface and say, and people who had dealt with this issue and say, I can do this or that kind of coating that will fix this problem or help you fix it. And we did that twice.
To no avail.
And we're still where we.
And it was essentially to fix it is a major scarification.
So when we say fix it, we don't know that it's even defective what they did. We just know kids are slipping.
That's
well.
So we don't have any opinion that says that the work's done is defective at
we
this
got
point.
this evening, we tried to check these issues out. We worked with contractors, and it really becomes a management call, I think, in terms of, do you want to go down and chase a contractor who you may or may not be able to prove that he was deficient, or do we just want to fix the problem and move forward? Realize the fix is $47,000, but that fix is in the budget, and I would propose to you that if you're going to go out chasing ghosts, you're going to spend $50,000 in legal fees trying to prove something that you may or not be able to prove when you have the money in the budget and you're upgrading to remember too, when we go back to no blame here, when we go back to trying to squeeze this in the budget, we downgraded the surface to the pour and play because we didn't want to spend the extra money to do the cushiony type surface, which we just passed around. So at the end of the day, we went a little cheaper. It didn't quite work out. We can chase that ghost, or we can fix it. Our recommendation is to fix it. If we go chase the ghost, we're going to chase ghosts, we're going to bring contractors, we're going to spend money, we're not going to get the splash pad open, and at the end of the day, we may or may not be right where we're at 6 months from now.
What is the warranty on that material? In other words, is it going to dry and crack in the sun after a year? Are we going to have to replace this every year?
No, Mike, was it 3 or 5?
It was. The answer is yes. We'll have to replace it on rotation.
There's a 3 or 5 year warranty. Mike's going to get the exact years right now, but Florida Aquarium has it, and we went and walked around on the Florida Aquarium to see what it was and talked with their director there and one of their lifeguards. One of the things with it is if one does peel or crack, you just take that tile out and put a different
Rather
tile
than
in.
the whole floor.
Yeah, and so some of the pour and play type, the pebble stuff that other people have used, if that cracks or that becomes damaged, you have to go in, cut it out, and then you have a big ugly looking square in there. So this one, they'll actually number they may call the tile in the left corner A1, and you just say A1's damaged, and they send you A1 back. You take it out, put it back in. One of the reasons we had to go with the contractor to install it that we did, that's not a local one, is to have it be a certified installer, so the warranty comes with that.
I would just add here, so just to address this going after the contractor issue, is that, if we're going to move forward in doing this and we don't have any opinion from any contractor that says that this work is defective, then we got to put that behind us and forget about it, because you're not going to ever be able to go after a contractor without another contractor having looked at this, and we're getting ready to cover it up. So, not that I'm saying let's do that, but if that's the will of the commission to.
I feel that it's not defective, but people aren't happy with it, and how society is. People just because there's nothing wrong with it, someone can still sue us and still win.
Well, we could have them wear
I think-
rubber shoes.
I mean, I think at this stage, if you don't do anything, you've really increased your liability now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, the other places that have concrete, you know, talk about Disney, they have people there.
We've had public discussions now on 2 or 3 occasions where we're talking about slip and falls. If we don't do anything and somebody slips and falls when we open it, I mean, we're in even worse trouble.
I think we should go.
So, and I agree with our attorney there that this, you know, or somebody said it, I mean, litigating construction claims is crazy expensive, and so you can, you know, unless you have a contractor that just wants to make good on it because he wants to do more business with Leesburg or keep his name good, there, you know, if you can be throwing a lot of money, good money after bad, to litigate these kinds of things, unfortunately. But that's just the reality of it. And if you lose, then you're paying the other side's attorney's fees too, so.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. Okay, is 47?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Purchase request by the Information Technology Department for the annual replacement of desktop and notebook computers to Lenovo for a total amount of $73,940 using the State of Florida contract for computer hardware.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Public discussion on the commission?
The reason I asked this to be pulled, I understand in this are 12 desktops which are going to go in the Resource Center. Is the Resource Center paying for these desktops?
They are.
Yes and yes.
Thank you and thank you.
Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. 4C4.
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a lease with the last house on the block of Lake County, Inc., and providing an effective date.
For approval. Second.
I pulled this. I was just going to ask that we amend the lease to not have an automatic 5-year renewal at the end of 5 years. I just don't like seeing the city go out that far. I don't see a use for it in the future, but you never know. I think they do a good service, but 5 years, and then we can look again and see where we are, especially since it's free.
I move to strike the automatic renewal. Second.
Discussion on the amendment. Discussion from the public. Roll call.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. So now to the item itself. Any further discussion? Discussion from the public. Roll call.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Rowland?
Yes. 4C6.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract for sale of property located at 1205 Pamela Street to the Leesburg Community Development Corporation of Leesburg, Incorporated, and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve that.
I'll move to approve.
We need a second. Commissioner Christian can't second.
I can't second. I got
Second.
Okay, so I think, I know he pulled so he could abstain. And I just had a question. Is this, like the other ones you did, going to be for owner occupied? Or?
Yes. Mr. Marshall, he has some folders he'll pass out to the commission.
Yes, my name is Frazier Marshall with Community Development Corporation of Leesburg. First of all, we'd like to express our gratitude and consideration to acquire the additional property from the city of Leesburg. And I've already passed out some pictures of the property that we had already acquired on 413 Perkins Street and 410 South 6th Street. As you can see in the photograph, the CDC is happy to have 2 new homeowners, and they're both relocated to the city of Leesburg from neighboring cities. The CDC was able to assist the homeowners in contacting a lender, working with the company to get the best rate possible and pay most of the closing costs to assist first-time home buyers. We believe our partnership with the city of Leesburg changed a family's life and helped change a neighborhood. And the CDC is looking forward to providing another homeowner the opportunity to experience the American dream through home ownership. We would ask if the city of Leesburg would consider donating this property, or if the city will, I'm sorry, please forgive me, donating this property to the CDC instead of the $5,000 contracted price, or a price lower, so we can provide additional assistance to a first-time homeowner. Thank you for your consideration.
So yeah, given their history, I don't have a problem with that. The one thing that I did want, and it doesn't bother me as much with the CDC because they have a history of doing this and doing good work, and I trust them. But when we're getting rid of properties like this, to have actually in the contract that something that makes it go just to owner occupied within a certain period of time, or
There is a provision in this contract.
Is there?
Similar to the one that you did on a donation to the
Okay, I must have
CDC
just
last
missed
time. I can't tell you off the top of my head exactly what it is. Let me take a look at it.
And Mayor, we can assure you from our standpoint, I think the picture there, the young lady, I think her name's Natasha Dotson. She's 21 years old. She approached the CDC about a house on 6th Street. And we use her as a testimony because basically she was 21 years old, worked at Walgreens, working almost 10 hours a day. She was a student on her credit, didn't want a credit pull, and she was actually able to qualify for the house. We tried USDA, but because of some not enough credit, she went to a FHA loan, and the CDC was able to assist her with the down payment to get her into the house. And also Wells Fargo partnered and gave us $5,000 to help with the remodeling of the house on 6th Street. So I think the partnership the CDC provides, I think it is beneficial for the city. It helps first-time home buyers. And I think that's what our role is, to make sure people can get a house in stabilized neighborhoods.
the way I look at it, we're getting way more than $5,000 worth of free labor. So
Learn how to pay real good.
I wouldn't have a problem, but I can't make that motion.
But I just addressed an overall thing on these on the infill lots, and this is when we had the other ones that came up before. And I mean, the renovations that were done are really nice on what was done with those houses. It's good we put some homeowners in those. But I just like to address this neighborhood here a little bit as well. This is the entryway coming off of Griffin going into Susan Street, the baseball field there, which I think is a neighborhood that we should pay some particular attention to for redevelopment purposes. I think it's an important little section of Leesburg there. Number one, it's some nice older, smaller houses in there. Number two, it is an entryway into Susan Street, and that's where our kids are going to play ball. And people from other cities are coming into Leesburg, and they go through that neighborhood there too as well. So what I had mentioned before in these infill lots and these surplus properties that Leesburg has is that I think we should have some development standards that we would want to see homeowners meet in those neighborhoods that are conducive to what's there. Not to require a 3,000-foot home in a neighborhood where there are 1,200 square foot homes, but to do something to try to encourage a redevelopment and maybe a redesign of how the houses are in those neighborhoods. And I don't see that we're doing that by just doing a contract where we give, where we either somebody pays $5,000 or we give them a piece of property. And for me, that's just something that I don't think we're going far enough in our efforts for owner-occupied homes, first-time home buyers, but I think there's a bigger picture to look at redeveloping these neighborhoods, and I don't think we go far enough in doing that. I don't know what they're going to build there. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how many square feet it's going to be, and I don't, you know, and we're not taking advantage of an opportunity to try to encourage the rest of the neighborhood to come along with that vision that we would see for that particular neighborhood. And I know we just gave some, I think we waived some code enforcement fines on some properties there, provided that those properties were owner occupied too. So, but I just think we need to go farther in a redevelopment nature than just giving the property and making it available to first-time home buyers.
Mayor, I was mistaken. I did not put that in here because unlike the other agreement, they were paying for this one. And the other was donated. If you'd like that in here, and if the commission approves the donation, I would have to use the other form of agreement anyway.
Okay.
So I could enter that in there.
So if I can, just a little farther again, I would like to see us have some sort of an overlay for a neighborhood like this and even provide matching grants and whatever else we can do to help that neighborhood to be renovated. You know, whether it's to change the facade, to paint their houses, to you know, put new windows in, whatever it might need to be done, and have a vision with it. And then, so I'm not just talking about this piece of property. And then we can say, when we give away a piece of property like this, or we sell it for $5,000, we say, and then this is how it's gonna fit into that vision and those efforts that we're making.
Well, if I was on the other side and wasn't receiving, I would be skeptical. 'Cause I think, again, if private development, I think when they come in, you're gonna now force someone to say, remodel your house more expensive than every other house in the neighborhood, then try to sell it, then try to get it comparable, and then cross your fingers and hope that these same homeowners who've been there, my cousin lives about 2 blocks down, they've been there 15, 20 years, they haven't remodeled their house and have no plans to remodel your house. So you tell a prospective investor, or whether the city's giving it away or not, go ahead and we're gonna put a design standard on you, and you put $20,000 extra into the house.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that an existing homeowner has to go do anything at all with their home, or if they wanted to do something to their home, that they have to do anything with it at all. What I'm saying is that if they did want to do something, that we would have a matching grant that would allow them to be able to do that with no requirement that they do anything. And if you know, but when we have an opportunity but I think we should have a vision. I think we should put sidewalks in here. I think we should put street lights in this particular little area of Leesburg. I think this should be a prime area that we focus on here. And so we have a vision for that neighborhood. And when we have an opportunity to carry that vision forward, like this lot, we say we would like to see a house that meets these certain design elevations or whatever it is, go on this particular piece of property. Nobody else has to do it. But the hope is I don't know if we have any more in this neighborhood or not, but if we happen to come into one, and then, you know, just like with these other ones, I think that, you know, we would want a developer to come in and build a building that fits that, and that hopefully that would encourage the neighbors and the people next door to do a little more with their place. They don't have to do anything, but to encourage that. Or if they, you know, properties will turn over, whether it's that somebody relocates, somebody dies, a house eventually is gonna go up for sale. And what we wanted to do is to go from being a rental property to an owner-occupied property, and that somebody, if it's going to be owner-occupied, somebody's going to take it up a level, not to make the house bigger or fancier or anything, but just to try to increase the property values in the particular neighborhood, and in this case, make it a nice entryway into one of our parks that we have. But I'm not saying at all to require any homeowner in there to do anything to their house.
I think personally, I think the CDC does that. I think they have a history of putting a nice product out. I am a little wary about us telling people exactly what to build. I think we have codes already. The property maintenance code and other things in the building code. So.
That's where I just have a little more vision, I guess. So, but I get you.
Yeah, I think sometimes got to be a little realistic too, and people aren't jumping up and down to come into these neighborhoods and sink money in them.
Exactly. So have some
we
things-
have the opportunity
so
here
have-
to get an
so have some
owner-occupied house that's going to be much nicer than what's there. I don't know, so I'm in favor of it.
I want people to jump up and down to come in this neighborhood. That's my point.
Well, I think for me, I mean, I personally, I mean, I understand both sides of it, but I think something might be amiss from everybody understanding what Commissioner Bone is saying. If you have a neighborhood that has blight in it, you know, we have things in place to address it. That's why we spend so much time and do so much around there trying to assist and have monies to work towards that. And then you have organizations like the CDC that come in to help facilitate trying to correct those things, and they've done a good job with that. So, I mean, I definitely support it, but I think I lean a little bit towards what Commissioner Bone is saying in that, you know, how long do we want it to just stay there? Because 12 months out of the year, we hear of the issues and the complaints wanting to get more stuff there, but there needs to be something from the residents in the neighborhood as well, contributing to lift that neighborhood up, not just putting facilities and programs in place from the city side. So, you know, if you look at towns like Mount Dora, you know, when you go down, I think it's Donnelly and to the left, whatever that is, when you start getting to 11th and 9th, 7th, you know, all those houses 15 years ago were kind of in the same shape. And then they put some things in place, and people started coming in and really flipped that neighborhood over in the last 10, 12 years. And those houses are beautiful now. Not major reconstruction, but just when your neighbor's house on both sides looks really good, makes you want to put yours up to that standard too. Does that make sense? And I think if we were, I agree with you, Mayor, that, you know, people aren't jumping up and down to go there, but if there was some incentives, matching grants and things of that nature, that we could do to try to help motivate people to want to stay, want to invest more into their house, want to take more pride in their property, I think that it could be a win. And then there would be an expectation for the city to start doing some things like sidewalks, street lamps. I mean, all that is positive stuff that, A, makes people feel good about the neighborhood, feel good about what they're contributing and understanding. So I support this, but I do think that going forward, it wouldn't hurt for us to start having a few workshops on how to address some of these issues and get more residents involved and, you know, some things like that to see what they would be open for too.
And I'm glad we're having this discussion, because I want y'all to really look what we're saying. We're saying to a neighborhood, reinvest in yourself, but the city basic necessity, sidewalks are not there. The other streets, Donnelly got sidewalks. You go to Eustis, you go to Mount Dora, the CRAs are there, they're putting sidewalks. This neighborhood has no sidewalks. That's not the neighbor's responsibility, that's the city's responsibility. There are no street lights in there. That's not the neighbors, that's the city. So we have looked at this neighborhood 30, 40 years, and we just said we're not gonna put sidewalks. I mean, you got neighborhoods that are fighting for basic city necessities, sidewalks, street lights, curb and gutter. I mean, you got houses that are very old here. You have some that have investors who come in, and as Commissioner Bone said, the 3 right beside Burger King. We gave a guy a code enforcement lift, and we forced him to put a first-time homeowners. Well, guess what other 2 are? Other 2 are renters. So you want me to buy a home, and I got 2 renters who are going to change every 2 years, and we're going to say, hey, when you come in here, we're going to raise you to a standard, but you haven't put in sidewalks, haven't put in street lights, and 30% of the neighborhood is rent to own. So again, I think, as the mayor says, we also have to be realistic. It's not about facility, because this neighborhood really doesn't have facility except Susan Street. Then you got Birchwood on the backside of it, and that becomes problematic on how to address Birchwood. So if I buy my house and put $150,000 renovation there, I'm gonna have probably about 70, 80 cars driving to Birchwood all through the night by my investment. So why would I jump it down without subsidies from the city? And I haven't heard anybody say let's put in the budget to have subsidies to get investors and first-time homeowners to go into these neighborhoods. Well, it's great that we're talking about tonight. But the reality is, we haven't told the city manager, hey, put $1 million in a budget and put subsidies in the neighborhood so people can redo their house. And is that the way the city really wants to go? Or are we going to let private developers come in and develop these neighborhoods that we work very hard in the Carfax community, bringing in non-profit developers to saying, hey, we're going to assist you to do these type of developments? Because across Lake County, I don't see too many private developers going into neighborhoods that have no sidewalks and streetlights, and traditional neighborhoods saying we're going to reinvest in them. So we can say it all day, but show me the reality of it in Lake County, especially in Leesburg.
Well, I have brought up that we should do grants for people to do things on the facades of their home and do things with their homes. I have brought that up. This is in the CRA where we're building the resource center, and there wasn't.
This is not CRA.
This is the CRA. Yes, and so this was the discussion. This was the discussion about the resource center, which I support. This was discussion about the resource centers. Do we spend $2 million on a resource center, or do we use the money to build sidewalks and streetlights?
I would really like to see a map to show me this is in the CRA.
Do you have that map, Ken? Do you have that map, Ken?
And I may be wrong, but I know some of this neighborhood is. I don't know if this.
The map includes Walmart, so it's got to include that.
Yeah. So.
I know as you get down in and around Susan Street, there's some enclaves in there.
Yeah,
but
so maybe this particular piece isn't, but this neighborhood is.
Do you have that map, Ken?
So-
Well, I mean, then it sounds like we need to have a workshop to talk about,
Yeah, and that's
about
what my
the grant
point
programs.
is.
See, I'm all about, I agree with grant programs.
And my point is, I'm okay with doing this. I just wish that we have gone farther already at this point, that when these came up, that we could say, well, we've got this in place, here's our vision for this neighborhood. And yes, we should do more as well, sidewalks and streetlights. I think we had an opportunity to do more already, we went another way. And I may be wrong, it may not be in the CRA there, but I thought that it was. But even if it's not, I think we should do. I think this should be a target, unless we're going to take Susan's.
Gotta come this way, Ken.
No, it's not.
Plus 27.
If we're not going to take Susan Street, our baseball fields and our football field and everything, and we're not going to take it and move it somewhere else, if we're leaving it there.
It's not.
Okay, this one's not. So if we're.
I just worked this for about 15 years, so I can pretty much tell you what's in the CRA and what's not.
All right, there's some in that area that is in the CRA.
Well, like I said, as you can see, the blue is what's in the CRA.
I don't think we need to get off on the CRA versus not. I think we all agree we need to do something,
But
so let's have a workshop.
if we're going to keep the field there, and I'm sure we are, and I'm not suggesting at all to move it, then I think we need to that's one of the main pieces in town is our park, and that we need to do more in the neighborhoods around there, including Birchwood and those that are there.
Well, I'm confused. Because that's about the most I've ever pushed for stuff in that area. And now you're shooting me down, telling me. So you want it to stay what it is and have $5,000 houses, or do you want to build that neighborhood up? Because flip a coin, pick a side, and I'll stick with mine all the way through. But,
What are you talking about?
well, I'm talking about, we're talking about trying to, the city, not people. I'm not asking residents to go out and build a sidewalk and a lamp post. I'm asking residents to put some shutters on the window and paint the house and fix the broken board on the front porch and mow the grass and pick up the trash. And if we start setting a standard, we can work our way through a neighborhood, which you're always telling me we want to do, and the city come in and start doing that. And then me and Bob are sitting here saying, let's even put some monies out there that will help match so we can help them paint their house and help them fix a broken window and help them. And then you're saying that this is goofy and
No,
we shouldn't do
I
that.
never said that. In fact, I support.
I'm
in fact,
confused.
I'll make the motion right now that Al put $1 million in a fund to do it. I'll make that motion right. I'll make it every meeting, and I just need a second and 3 votes. I promise you. That's not my issue.
If I could interrupt, I don't want to speak on behalf of the commission, but I've been sitting listening to the discussion as long as everybody has. And honestly, I think y'all are on the same page. I think the only variant in this is Commissioner Bone wants to have a more specific design standard redevelopment overlay performa, which he has talked about in the past and which we have yet to deliver on. Now, and I think Mayor Roebuck said that about 10 minutes ago. Even though the CDC has taken over some of these houses, the example is, I think the one over here is on 6th Street and the one over here on Perkins. If we had had a design performa like Commissioner Bone would want us to see, I think it would have been redeveloped to those standards. I have failed to bring you a design performa. That has been on Commissioner Bone want me to do list for some time now. So I need to get my staff in action, and we need to bring you that. That design performa, as I envisioned from those discussions that he has, would have fixes to facades and landscape like that has been completed, in addition to additional sidewalks and streetlights. So all he's saying is, it sounds like to me, I'll do this, but
I just want to go farther.
another nudge,
Yeah.
we need a design standard. So I think you're all on the same page here. And the question then becomes is, I think my task, my walk away from tonight is, I need to get you a design standard, and we'll bring that to you. But I think the immediate question tonight is, should the CDC redevelop this house? It sounds like to me you're all saying yes.
So with that being said, I think the issue is, do we want to push for the 5,000, or do we want to donate it and add the provision about it becoming an owner-occupied home? So we'll need a motion one way or another on that.
I'd like to see to sell it for the 5,000. The person should have some skin in the game, not just be handed a house.
Honestly, I'd rather see them use the $5,000 to do something that is going to be an extra $5,000 worth of a look or a benefit to that house that's going to be even better for the neighborhood than for us to have $5,000. That's where I get to this overlay, this thing, is because then we could say, look, you know, you're required to have, you know, whatever that siding is, the placard siding on the house, and so that's, you know what, we'll waive the $5,000 because you have to put that siding on there, and we don't have anything like that. But I don't have any problem at all. We don't have to have the $5,000. I want the homeowner to have the property and to do something nice and be able to have a family there, and because that's what needs. Hopefully, it's a family, because I think that's a family neighborhood, and that they can do something nice there, and the way their house is going to look, that extra $5,000 they can spend on that house is going to make a neighbor want to do something extra on their house. So I'm okay with waiving. I just would wish there was something there that we knew we were getting that little benefit.
I'm with Commissioner Bowe on that.
What will the homeowner have invested in this?
Not a house.
For?
You know, 5,000 more than what you just added, so we'll renovate it and then we'll put it on the market.
No, what I'm saying is, who determines how much is going to be invested? The CDC?
Yeah, when we're going to fix it up, I mean, and make it livable until a person wants to buy it. I mean, it's not going to be, you know, just any kind of house. It'll be something that someone wants to buy. We don't want to fix the house up and say we're going to hold it for 3 years. But as the two we've done, when we fixed them up, people came knocking on our door. I mean, we didn't have a realtor on any house. So when we put the sign up, we had actually multiple people wanting to buy those houses. But of course, we settled on someone who was young and was going to put a family in the house. So they go get a loan from the bank and they actually buy the house.
So this person's qualified for a loan at this time?
Well, we don't know who it is. I mean, we don't have anybody in mind. We renovate, we can put a sign up, and then people come and they go get a qualified loan.
What did the last one sell for?
62.
Yeah.
62,000.
I mean, we're not talking about
Yeah.
super.
So if the city donated the property, could the CDC say we'll put an extra 5,000 of what we were
Most definitely.
going to do?
When we finish the house, you'll be pleased with it.
Does that make sense?
It makes no sense.
I am sorry, and I have to add this because it's great that this woman bought this house there, and we put a homeowner in there for $62,000 in that home. And you're talking about the one on 6th Street there, but I have a different vision of what we should be doing with these properties. I think that house should have been torn down, and a $120,000 house should have been built on that property to bring up the property values in that neighborhood. And all that did was, I mean, it put someone in a home, but it created a $62,000 comparable for that neighborhood. One right across the street from Dixie, from where we've invested $500,000 in a community park, and another $500,000 in a splash pad, and we're putting another $50,000 in
And I think we're aware
today,
of that
so-
point because you made it very clearly when we did the property, but the rest of the commission didn't agree in that case. But I think there's some agreement to come towards you a little bit with the workshop and the grant program. So I think we need to stay on this property. So if we could just get a motion one way or another.
I'll make a motion to waive the $5,000 purchase fee for the CDC on it. I guess we just give it to them with the.
I think you wanted in
Would
exchange
that
for
add the
home-
same language that needed to be good owner occupied like the last one?
Okay, have it owner occupied. I'll make that motion, the owner occupied, which I'm sure it will be.
Well, I'll second it this time, but if there's not that investment, it won't happen to me again.
Any further discussion? Discussion from the public.
May I?
Luggage, yes, sir.
Don Lucky. A thought, and just on this one issue. Sell it for the $5,000, but tell the homeowner, as you make improvements, we'll reimburse you half, or we'll reimburse you the full amount, up to $5,000. That way you're going to get a guarantee of getting improvements to the property, instead of just donating it and hoping they'll do something with it. Put a little hook in them.
Well, in this case. it
Makes
won't work
common
because
sense.
we're donating it to the CDC.
Beg your pardon?
In this case, we're not donating it to a specific homeowner at this time. We're donating it to the CDC who will.
I understand, but it's eventually going to get donated to an owner. Then give the money, the CDC keep the money and reimburse the owner as they make the improvements up to the $5,000. So in other words, as he improves the house, he can get his $5,000 back, but he's got to improve the house, which will again increase the standard of the neighborhood and then accomplish what Commissioner Bone is talking about.
Thank you.
Put a hook in it.
Any other comments from the public?
When I first looked at the proposal, I didn't have any problem with us exchanging monies at the $5,000 because they're reimbursing the city for the taxes that have already been spent by the city in order to receive the title. If that's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong. It was like $4,700 somewhat. So pretty much it's almost an even swap, even if you want to take it down to the exact amount that the city paid. I thought that was fair to do that. My question lies in the CDC purchases these, or they're not purchasing it. We're giving them the houses. They're renovating it with a lot of free labor. They have to have some skilled labor with plumbing and electricity, I would assume, in order to pass inspection. And then they're selling it for $68,000. So wouldn't somebody be making money off that as far as realtor fees, broker fees, lawyer fees, and all of the handling of the transaction? Someone's making money off the fact that we're just giving properties away. And maybe I'm missing something here. I know I had to spend a lot of money every time I bought and sold homes, 3 of them. So and I understand what Bob's trying to say. I do want to see the city, the blight go away. I get that. But the elephant in the room is Birchwood Court. And we all kind of roll our eyes and go, oh, Birchwood. And we're told to never go back there, by the way. I've been told that by many of people to never drive back there. And I think it's a shame that I live in a city of Leesburg where I can't even drive all my streets safely. And I think that really needs to be addressed as well. And this house almost kind of backs up to it, does it not?
Close.
Close, yeah. So we're going to put a 21-year-old girl in this house, which backs up to Birchwood. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yeah.
Commissioner Dennison?
No.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. Okay. On to 5A. So could introduce, please.
I'll introduce, ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending Chapter 25, City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances to establish provisions supporting the ARD, Age Restricted Development Zoning District, amending Section 25-73 to provide for petition by property owners, amending Section 25-269, parentheses 1, active districts to add age restricted development as an active zoning district, amending Section 25-274, parentheses C, Plan Development District intent statements to add an ARD, age restricted development intent statement, adding Section 25-287A, age restricted development process to allow for a development review process, amending Section 25-280, district development standards to add lot development standards, and providing for an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Rivera?
Yes. 5B. Someone introduce.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 2,631 plus-minus acres from City PUD Planned Unit Development to ARD Age-Restricted Development to allow for a mixed-use community for a property generally located near the Florida Turnpike and north and south of County Road 470, as legally described in Sections 6, 7, 8, 9, 16, 17, 20, and 21, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. To 5C.
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a development agreement between the City of Leesburg and the Villages Land Company, LLC, for the purpose of adopting a development agreement under Chapter 163.3220 through 163.3243 Florida statutes, providing for certainty to both parties in terms of current and future development process and entitlements, setting out density, intensity, land uses, and processes to be followed for development, clarifying how land development regulations will apply, anticipating and planning for continued future development, and establishing design standards for process requirements for development taking place under the ARD, Age Restricted Development, Future Land Use Category, and Zoning District.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. On to 5D.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk to execute a natural gas system construction, purchase, and sale agreement between the City of Leesburg and South Sumter Gas Company, LLC, for the purpose of setting forth the terms and conditions under which the City of Leesburg will provide natural gas utility service to certain portions of the village community and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Roll call.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. 5E.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, creating Section 22-250 of the Code of Ordinances, setting forth rate parameters for providing natural gas service within the village's service area, providing for the applicability of this ordinance, defining the village's service area, repealing ordinances in direct conflict, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
So this is a first reading. Any comments from the commission? Comments from the public? Okay, this will labor to our next meeting. 5F.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg amending Chapter 17, Pensions and Retirement, Article 4, Police Officers Retirement Fund of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Leesburg, amending Section 8, Disability, providing for codification, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Comments from the commission? Just state that, again, I don't believe that defined benefit pension programs are appropriate. Any comments from the public?
I'll state again, I think they are.
I'll ask the question because I ask it every time you say that, Dan. Where are we competition-wise as far as trying to hire police officers that are in competition with? Are there other communities that are hiring that don't have retirement benefits and?
Yeah, no. Okay, standard operating procedure generally for police and fire is a pension benefit that's generally funded with the state proceeds through insurance premiums. That's standard, with a three-factor and an addition. This specific modification is really a fix-it clause from when we increased our pension fund 2 or 3 years ago, outside the existing CBA, when we increased to that three-factor for police officers, and even still, we still had a modified factor. So if you have years of service, when you're at 2.5% or 2% and then 3%, we still have a cumulative factor in our police pension fund. However, this was for the disability section. So if somebody becomes disabled in the line of duty, that pension factor should carry over. We collectively negotiated that in this past session for the last 3 years CBA. So it took us this long to process this modification that was agreed to in the CBA. But as far as your immediate question, I think it's a little speculative, but I would say generally, and I don't like to say this publicly, but you asked, so generally I would say our police pension funds for the police department are slightly below par. Meaning other cities, they're slightly more lucrative.
And not put Commissioner Roebuck on the spot, but I guess I am. How much more would you be willing to pay as a flat salary to police officers if they didn't have a pension, if we weren't offering a pension
Yeah, I mean,
benefit?
we have to see what the market would bear. I mean, I would think at least 10% more, but we can't even get it to a vote. They won't.
Well, I don't ever hear any alternatives. I just hear I'm opposed to it.
I would agree with that comment from the mayor. I think you have a fixed issue for now. This is really a carryover
I know this is
item.
another, but
when we approved the CBA, we kind of forced ourselves into approving this modification.
And I'm fine
And
with
by
it,
the
but-
way, it came with some beating the PBA back. The PBA came in asking for a benefit that was 100% at 3% factor, not just what we negotiated back to the state standard of 50% at the 3% factor. So the quid pro quo was we negotiated the 3%. You'll get it at the state disability rate, which is already now in your CBA. So we agreed to this when we approved the CBA. On the other hand, I do think that's going to be a hard sell to the union. More money, less pension benefits, and that would be one that would have to be collectively negotiated for the next cycle, which is going to be now 21.
No, they won't take it to their membership because they're afraid what that vote might go. And I get it. Everyone does it. But my feeling has always been that just because everyone else is doing something stupid doesn't mean that we should too. And I think that things are fine for the next 20 years, but eventually it's going to be a problem. There's all sorts of research about how pension funds are a huge issue one day in the future. And I hope to be, I figure I'll be alive long enough for that to come about. So I'll keep voting no. But that's it.
Well, to answer your question too, the other cities have it and have better. And if you take that out and just tried to offer a bigger pension, they wouldn't work.
Bigger salary.
They just would go somewhere else. They could already get a bigger salary. There's a lot of cities that beat us. So they would just go there and you'd be paying through the nose with liability for the officers you could get. They'd be glorified security guards. And your liability risk would go through the roof and lawsuits would come down and, well, here you go.
It's very speculative, but we'll go on. Roll call.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowen?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
It's a fact in cities that don't have good hired help. Yes.
Mayor Roebuck?
No. On to 5G.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving an amendment to the Interlocal Service Boundary Agreement, ISBA, between the City of Howey and the Hills and Lake County to include Leesburg as a joinder to this agreement, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
So this is a first reading. Any discussion? Discussion from the public? Okay, this will later return next meeting. 5H.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 214 acres, being generally located on the east and west sides of U.S. Highway 27 and north of the Florida Turnpike, lying in Section 1, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and Section 6, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, providing that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the city of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3 and providing an effective date.
Discussion, commission?
Move to approve.
This is a first reading.
Oh, first reading, okay.
Discussion from the public? Okay, that'll lay over to our next.
I think it has to go to Tallahassee. Is this the one that has to go to Tallahassee?
The comp plan will, not the annexation.
Okay.
It will be transmitted to Tallahassee.
So which one do we need to approve? Is that?
I is the comp plan.
Do we need to actually approve that to send it to Tallahassee?
I think you need to make a motion to transmit it to
Okay.
Tallahassee for their review.
Okay, so 5I.
Okay.
Someone can introduce.
I'll introduce, it has to be read in length. I mean by title.
An ordinance amending the comprehensive plan for the city of Leesburg, Florida, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing approximately 214 acres, being generally located east and west of U.S. Highway 27 and north of the Florida Turnpike, lying in Section 1, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and Section 6, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, from Lake County Urban Low Density Regional Office and Transitional to City of Leesburg General Commercial and Low Density, and providing an effective date.
Okay, so that's a first reading, but
We need a motion. I'll make a motion to transmit this to the state for comp plan approval.
I'll second that.
discussion? Discussion from the public? Roll call?
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison?
Yes.
Mayor Robuck?
Yes. Okay, so 5J.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, rezoning approximately 214 acres from Lake County PUD Planned Unit Development and A Agriculture to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development for property generally located east and west of U.S. Highway 27 and north of the Florida Turnpike, lying in Section 1, Township 21 South, Range 24 East, and Section 6, Township 21 South, Range 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
That's a first reading. Any discussion? Discussion from the public? Okay, that'll later to our next meeting. Now we're on to informational reports. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, there were some of them.
Yeah, expected write-offs. I guess, I mean, it's in the packet, so if you have questions. City attorney items,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
city manager items.
Unfortunately, Commissioners, I have a couple of items I'd like to bring up with you. I just want to thank you. I think the item that we just passed earlier this evening, item 5D, the natural gas service agreement with South Sumter Utility Company, I think that was probably one of the most exciting things. I'm biased because I'm slightly utility slanted, as you guys know, but I think that was one of the most exciting things that we've done to date with the villages. I mean, I think the villages opportunity gives the community so much in terms of changing the pattern of how we're growing to a tax base that's going to be significantly more than we ever planned in the land sale, to the two utility issues that we've done with the sewer portion of the regional sewer approach and the regional gas approach. So tonight was that regional gas approach. We believe that we'll net at full build out, which is 14,000 units in Wildwood, of about 2.2 million. That we think that will be around our gross. So I think that's just a totally great opportunity for municipal gas, and it's been a good deal. However, it's not done. There was a couple parts in there. One of them you will note was a franchise agreement from the city of Wildwood, which was in your packet. I understand that Wildwood will be considering that franchise agreement tonight. Their second reading on that will be the 26th. The third part of that agreement was the rate structure that you did by ordinance, which creates the new rate that the customers in the village service territory will get. You'll have that in second reading. There is a little bit of hiccup in this giddy-up, which is really a potential protest that may come from Tico's Peoples Gas. I think it's fair to disclose that. I know I have been in contact, and Fred has been in contact with some attorneys from Tico's People Gas. They have requested that we have a meeting. We will be doing that meeting sometime this week, hopefully, where the villages, as well as the city, represented by myself and Jack, will be at that meeting. I do think, though, and to cut to the chase, what I would like to ask from you all is to allow Fred and I to look for outside legal counsel. We would like to bring you potentially a contract with outside legal counsel. We've got a couple of different firms that we're looking at. And so with your permission, Fred's been working on that with some input from Tom Jeffrey, our FGU executive manager, as well as myself and Jack. So we've been combing through some names. So I do think we need to prepare for that. My hope is that after these discussions with the villages this week, that challenge will go away. But I think we need to prepare for a potential challenge. And I think y'all know me well enough. In the past 4.5 years now I've worked for you, I generally advise you when to fight and when not to fight. And I do think that if we do get challenged on this one, this is a fight that we need to fight. This is a fair game territory. We've been picked because we're a better provider. And I don't want to say anything argumentative, but I think we need to protect that territory. And by all statutory law, our position is that we're entitled to that area. So with that, please know that Fred and I will be working on that, and we'll have a recommendation for you at the next meeting. Maybe we won't need it. The next thing I wanted to let you know, next meeting, we're also going to have an update on signs, community signs, as well as some park signs. That was one of the items in there. DC is going to put a briefing to you to show you some of the pictures and locations where we plan to put the community signs, as well as new park signs, which was catalyst from the budget and Commissioner Bone, as well as doing the park sign for Beverly Shore Park. The third thing is FDOT notified Public Works, and they would like to develop another stormwater project roughly over here off of Dixie. So we are putting together some public meetings on that to get the input from the community before we come before you with a recommendation. I think Derek and DC set up a public meeting for the 20th. We will have it advertised down in the lobby. So commissioners, please feel free to come to this. We'll get community input. It's noted that one or more commissioners may be there. There won't be a vote, but we'll have it covered so that if you need to be there, you can. I think this will be an interesting project, but before we start putting more retention ponds in, it's another similar project to where we put in retention pond and we have some park area, but we definitely want to get the input from the community before we move forward with that.
Is that on the north or south side?
South side of Dixie.
Okay.
And then finally, too, I've been contacted by Pastor Williams from Citadel of Hope. He is working with the county right now to put together a low-income senior housing project where Citadel of Hope has some property on the backside, which would be the west side of Citadel of Hope. So I'd just kind of like to get some of your feedback on that. I think this would be a project that we may want to entertain some type of grant funding or assistance through impact fee deferrals or loan programs like we've done in the past. Pastor Williams has a meeting with the county for some county support, so I think this is a good project to look into. So those were my items for you this evening.
Okay, thank you. Do you need anything in terms of the outside council, or you're just asking to bring it up at the next meeting?
What we need to probably do is get a feel for a barometer of how much we can spend up to and engagement.
only got the call from TECO's attorneys about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon and didn't have very much time to work on it, but I was able to contact a firm in Tallahassee that does Public Service Commission work. Spoke to what turned out to be the wrong attorney, and he was going to talk to the right attorney in the firm and have them get back to me. I haven't heard from them yet. He sounded like they would be anxious to take it on. I just need to talk about the terms of their retention and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have no problem with that. I mean, that's a huge potential revenue stream for us going forward.
So we'll keep looking, but I thought it was important to publicly disclose how important that project is, and I think it's a visionary project, and I think we're entitled to be there, and I think it's something we may have to defend.
Public comments. The section reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future city commission meeting. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Don Luckich again. Henderson Park. City has now invested over $250,000 in the purchase and upgrading of Henderson Park. I have been informed by staff that it is now designated as a passive park because residents don't want traffic who live across the street. In addition, staff informed me that they're going to tear up a perfectly usable boat ramp to put in a kayak ramp. Now let me give you some facts. I've lived on that lake for 19 years. Number one, and know the area very well. Number one, I can count on both hands in 19 years as how many times I've seen kayaks on Lake Griffin. They're just very, very rarely. Number two, the boat ramp, which was in use prior to the city buying it, people used it all the time. But I never saw a traffic problem there. I never saw more than 2 or 3 vehicles parked there at any one time. Why would you want to tear up a perfectly good boat ramp for kayaks that don't use the lake? And if they want to use the lake, since you've cleared the lake, the land all the way to the lake, they can drive right up to the shore, take it off the top of their SUVs or out of the back of their pickup trucks, lay it in the water and take off. They don't need a special boat ramp because they can go directly to it. You know, if we're going to invest $250,000 of taxpayer money into something that staff doesn't want anybody to use, let's sell the property and put it into what Commissioner Bowden was doing earlier, into the neighborhoods that need street lights and sidewalk. I mean, this is ridiculous of what is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. I think we've discussed this at length. Al, could you have staff get with Mr. Luckage on our plans for the park?
But we will do it again.
Any other public comments?
Oh, by the way, I want to mention, I'm glad to hear we're going to have a look at some signs. There's still no sign on Henderson Park.
You can include that in the update.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Mike Peterson. I'm a resident of Leesburg. I'm here as a commercial realtor with Grizzard Realty, representing both these gentlemen. Don Keister of Holiday Marine is trying to buy an adjoining property next door that Ernest Jones owns, and he and his brother. And a day or two before closing, code enforcement lien showed up, was uncovered. It's a big one, the amount of $200,000. I'll let Ernest speak to that after I get finished, because Ernest has issues with how the lien was attached to the property and issues. But I guess my point, and I've had good conversations with Al and talked to a lot of different people and staff. We've been working on this for 2.5 months, and we've got a $200,000 lien. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that the city has a track record history of settling these for about 10 cents on the dollar. So I have not been advocating an amount. I've never pushed staff, anybody, for an amount. I'm just trying to get a plug number for a closing statement. So a growing business in Leesburg that needs this site, is, just sitting idle, and, 2 sellers who are ready to close. I guess I came in here today. I understand the process. The special magistrate is not here. I was hoping we could resolve this today, but I'm not clear if we can without the special magistrate. But I didn't know if there was any creative ideas, some way just to bring this to resolution. We've been delayed 2.5 months in trying to get this deal closed, and to me, it's just a simple win-win. City gives me a number. He can expand his business. He's a happy seller, and the city obviously wants a property cleaned up, and the buyer is going to bulldoze it within 30 days. Just to back up, and there were 4 issues that created the liens. 2 were automobiles. They are gone. The other 2 issues were improvements to the house on the property. And that's been part of the confusion is, it seems illogical to have a seller go make improvements to a house that a buyer is going to turn around and bulldoze in 30 days. So I'll stop right there. I don't know if Don has some comments. I think his issues are completely separate from this transaction. Ernest's issues are more to do with how the lien was put in place. But anything you can do to help resolve this. And Al and I spoke today. I don't know if Al can add anything to it.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. And let me just, internally on the staff problem that we have is the special magistrate, obviously she has the authority to reduce these liens. You all have been vocal and very cautious about wanting these liens to be reduced. So to get this sale to go, something has to give there. So I recommended that they come here before you tonight to petition you to encourage the special magistrate to reduce the liens. I think she's going to be hesitant to reduce liens because of all the conversations that we've had here. So let me throw these numbers out. There is $234,000 of liens that's been on the property for about 585 days. The ruling from the special magistrate was to have those code enforcement issues fixed, which were the vehicles in the house, and it was $400 a day until fixed. So the clock is still ticking. So I think, let's come back to that. And there's also $6,439.59 of taxes, and that's about 4 years of taxes. So in total, there's about $240,000 worth of liens and taxes. So somewhere along the line, I think I do agree with the petitioners. This is an opportunity for redevelopment. It isn't, frankly, it's an old, ugly house in the middle of the boulevard. We just put some money into the apartments across, it's maybe 1, 2, 3 lots to the west, kind of between Holiday Marine and Vaughn Insurance, where we tore down those old apartments. This is that immediate house that's immediately west of Holiday Marine. So if Holiday Marine is going to expand in that and demolish that structure, I think that's in the interest of the city. Ultimately, your taxes do go up. I would remind the commission again that code enforcement liens are not to be punitive, but to encourage compliance and redevelopment. So really, I think we're at a stalemate because I think the commission wants to ensure that the city's not getting taken advantage of. I respect that, and I think the special magistrate is in a position to where I don't think she's going to move unless she has some overall guidance. And I think the city attorney would tell you that you can't tell the special magistrate what to do, but I think the logical, non-legal part of that is if you have a discussion about it and the special magistrate hears your opinion, and liens may be able to be reduced. So I thought today was the right stopping point to get this thing to move.
Well, can I just say, I talked to, this is Mr. Jones, my art teacher. I think he gave me a C in art. I did talk to his brother. He called me from West Palm Beach, and I did talk with him. I thought this was a great opportunity for the city. I know, of course, the apartments I tried to get you guys to keep in. You tore it down, so now we're watering grass for the next 10 years, but that's another story. We're not going to talk about that. But I think this is an opportunity for the city to look at Holiday Marine, and as Bob mentioned earlier, to say to them, we'll encourage the special magistrate to, I don't care, get rid of all the liens, but ask Holiday Marine to give us a site plan of what they would do to beautify coming down the boulevard. Decorative fencing, something that's going to get rid of the chain link fence and make that area look beautiful. So I think it's great for the seller, and I think it would be great for the business owner to expand.
And by the way, John, the buyer's already met with Dan and understands the site plan approval process. There's already been discussion on that. And I guess that's why I'm pushing so hard. I mean, if we closed in November, this site would have been cleared by Christmas, would probably be boats on display.
Well, our mayor's been pushing real hard for not to get rid of code enforcement. That's why the special master probably will reduce them, because he's been pushing real hard to not reduce them as we normally have done. But I think this is an opportunity for business to expand and also beautify that corridor coming down the boulevard. So
I've never pressed anybody for a specific number. I just want a number. Now, the sales price is well below the lien, so you're not going to get all your money.
Well, I just want to beautify that corridor, and we got to change.
Hey, we're trying. That's what we're trying to do. That's why I'm here.
And like I said,
That's why all three of us are frustrated.
We can produce 200,000. We can tell Holly Marine to take that 200,000 and re-improve that block right there.
Well, they don't have it. They have to fix it up to a very high standard because we passed a very restrictive code for the boulevard. So,
How much are they triggering redesign of their existing building there?
Correct me if I misspeak on this. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. Basically, we met with Mr. Keister and his group. What they'd like to do is go in there, put some landscaping along the highway there, and put boats in as basically storage. I don't know at this time if they plan to build anything. Actually, I don't believe there was anything we discussed as far as building.
Storage area.
If
But it was going to be a display area.
display and
for new
storage.
boats.
And it would be fixed.
And
does the new code we passed allow for that? I mean, I was against this code, but it was very
Are you talking about
restrictive
the-
on what you could store.
Are you talking about the architectural
The
standards?
storage.
it's
Storage
not going to be
goods.
storage. It's a new boat display.
I know.
Boat display, right.
Well, they already got it where they're at.
Well,
Not
but
that
this
I'm
is-
aware of,
Okay,
no,
because
sir.
it was pretty restrictive. I remember. I had a lot of problems with it.
I can think of the
Okay.
1635, which was the architectural standards. I don't recall anything else, but
Because I know building materials were specifically one of the things that weren't.
That
Because I was really worried about
okay.
that. I'm no longer, if I do anything, I'm not in compliance. So you need to make sure that boats are allowed.
they are in that zoning category. And if the commission wants them to make the landscape a little nicer or something, I mean, we can do that.
Would that only apply to the part they're adding, or would it also apply to just to the part
At
they're
this
adding?
time, it would only apply to the part that they're adding.
So, listening to Commissioner Christian, I mean, if there was some incentive that in whatever we do with these liens, that there's also some connection to doing something to connect whatever, if you're going to have one lot that's got some nice fencing or whatever and landscaping that's going to go in, but you don't have to do anything with the existing lot, if there was some incentive in this to also at the same time do something with your existing.
My wife is wanting to us get away from the chain link fencing and go to like a black wrought iron fence across the front. And then we were going to do landscaping low level so it's not blocking the view of the boats. Because I know there's a section that we have to do with landscaping, so we would be looking at like a certain kind of plant that will give us that, and then trees down along, which would be the west side of the property between us and the neighbor.
And Bob, I'll just add, part of the problem with his property is when they widen the road through there, his building is up against the sidewalk. I mean, I respect your comments on landscaping, but if Holiday Marine, their building is up against the sidewalk. You cannot landscape in front of the building. And then to the side, you have an entrance and an exit. There's really not much to work with there.
Yeah, we're blacktop up to our existing fence.
Well, and we talked about this with planning and
I
zoning.
think there's a quid pro quo you can extract.
We would have to take the money. We would actually have to take the money for code enforcement fines, and then we could
And
use
then
that
hold
money.
it and then do a grant. So I don't know if there's
Yeah.
some possible way to do something.
We could modify our current facade landscape to increase the matching dollars.
Yeah.
It's already up to 25. They're
Yeah, that would be, they're Holiday Marine is, at their existing site, would be a non-conforming use right now because of the single pole mount sign. That's a non-conforming use. And there's no perimeter landscape. That's a non-conforming use with the new code. The quid pro quo would be to release the liens, and now you can't do this, mind you, right? But the discussion would be, maybe if you come back in and you bring conformity into landscaping, get rid of the single mount pole sign, we can exercise, we can potentially help offset some of those funds if he petitions for a facade sound landscape grant. So, I mean, we're whacking the petitioner, but yet helping him too. If you get this stuff in conformity, landscaping, pole mount sign, perhaps you can apply for a FSL grant, and then you'll consider reducing these liens. I don't know.
Let me say
There's,
something, guys.
let me point out that when we're talking about recycling the money that's paid on the fines, that really doesn't work because Holiday Marine has contracted to buy the property for a fixed price, and it is the Joneses' responsibility to clear the fines. So when whatever that reduced amount is ultimately gets paid, it's coming out of the Joneses' pocket.
How long would it
And
take?
not Holiday Marine's. So you're not really giving Holiday Marine back anything that it cost them.
How long would it take us to foreclose on the property?
Commissioner Hurley
I would not foreclose
would love to
currently
speak.
because the taxes aren't paid. That's why we haven't filed a foreclosure yet.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Commissioner Hurley would like to speak on this at some point.
Go ahead.
First off, I appreciate what you're doing, Mike. My issue is, this didn't arrive overnight. This has been for years.
Well, let me just...
No. This is, Jay Hurley has finally got a mic, so you're going to wait. We've been waiting. This has been an ongoing problem for years. Now you as a seller come here with a piece of property that's paid for. You're going to ask us to waive all the liens that you've ignored, the stuff that you ignored to do for years, all the burden that put on our services that went out there and all the follow-up and all the money we've spent, hard money. And then we're going to put some restrictions on the buyer who's going to have to spend more money now to bring this property up to our codes and our standards. And you're just going to ask us to wipe the slate clean. You take the money, put it in your pocket. He spends more money. We lose all of our money. So to answer your question, I am totally against it. Now, because I care about the city, because I think Holiday Marina is a wonderful business in our community, I'm willing to negotiate that. But if there's no skin coming from you, there's no vote coming from me. Period. Don't care how you got here. Don't care what your disagreement is about getting here. That was between you and the magistrate. In the last 4 or 5 years, you've been fighting this, and that should have been corrected a long time ago. But to come in here and to ask us to waive $260,000, I think is ridiculous. And then to say we're going to make the buyer spend more money to bring this property up to a beautification code. There's not one thing on this that I agree with. So if you want to have us waive these fees, then we can work on waiving down the fees.
I'm asking for a number.
The number right now is $260,000.
Okay, well, you're going to foreclose a property then. It's worth
But listen, let me finish out. Quit arguing with this commission. What I'm saying is I would support reducing those so that this thing can happen because it becomes a win-win for everybody. You, the buyer, and our community. But I would also want something from you contributing to helping the situation, whether you pay a lesser amount or you're going to pay so much or reduce the price of the property so that he can bring it up to our standards. I think there needs to be some effort put on all parts, not just the city's part and Holiday Marina part. So I'm in favor of reducing the fines to a reasonable, because obviously $260,000, I would choke if I had to pay that. So I'm in favor of that, but to wipe it clean, there's got to be something from everybody saying, let's make this happen.
Well, let me just say this. I'm not asking for, total reduction either. Like he's saying, we want a number that, can move forward. Now, regarding the actual complaint, the compliance, we tried to do that. It's not as if, we totally ignored the code violations and just, ignored everything. We tried to work with the city, but it kept changing. The whole thing kept changing. First it was, you just put a cover on your cars and you can keep them there. Okay, that was one thing. And then I couldn't get anybody to come out and say, well, look, we cut the grass, we did this, we cut it back, because that was another issue. Then it was an issue of siding on the house. And like he said, I couldn't see putting money into a restoration that, nobody lived in. It was air property. I lived somewhere else. My brother lived out of town. And,
Well, we're not going to get into the code enforcement here because we're not the code enforcement board. We have a code enforcement board.
No,
we're doing you a favor by talking about it during roll call, which we don't normally. So we don't want to. We're not going to relitigate your case. That's enough of that.
All right.
Or we'll just stop. What's the sale price?
$84,000.
$84,000. So
84. I'm sorry.
So for me, I'm with Commissioner Hurley. I want the deal to get done, but I think you can't just walk away from $260,000 fine. for me, like, we can't tell what to do, but like $4,000 to deal with closing costs, pay the $80,000 to the code enforcement.
It's 84 net. It's 84 net to them, buyers paying all closing costs.
Oh, you're paying.
How much taxes are owed on this?
It's 4 years, and buyers agreed to pay them. We defined everything in the contract, but the code enforcement liens were a surprise, like the day before closing.
Well, it happened before the day before closing.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, as
For us.
just for us.
Yeah.
As I represent the buyer and the seller, but I mean, representing the buyer, this just surfaced literally the day before. I'm not here complaining. I'm here 2.5 months later, I mean, to take somebody's words, just trying to make this a win-win. Holiday Marine needs a site. He wants to sell it. I've never once asked for a waiver. I mean, Mike Peterson has not asked for a waiver. I'm just looking for a number to facilitate a transaction, and it'll clean up a blighted
Well,
property.
84 gets it done, so that's my number.
Well, there's a chicken and egg problem here. In the beginning of the Code Enforcement Board years ago, there was no restriction on fine reduction, and what was happening is people would come in this type of situation, the buyer would say, let me buy this, remove the liens, and I'll fix it and do this and do that. And so many times after the transaction was allowed to close, nothing happened. So the commission at that time passed an amendment to the ordinance that said you cannot seek a fine reduction until your property has been inspected and certified by the code enforcement officers to be in compliance. Now, I had offered Mr. Peterson in early December a reasonable pathway to get this deal closed, which entailed them closing the deal, title passing to Holiday Marine so they could knock the house down, all of the net money that he was talking about going into escrow with the closing agent under an escrow agreement that would say, once you get the house knocked down, we will seek a fine reduction, and whatever that number turns out to be will be paid out of those escrow funds, with the remainder of the money to go to the sellers. And I don't know what happened with that proposal, but I never heard back from anybody. So to say that it was 2.5 months of delay is not quite accurate, because there was a way to do it, and somebody up there decided they didn't want to do it. I don't know who, I don't know why, and certainly there are reasons why you might not want to. But nobody came back and said, can we do this or that in the alternative? Just dropped into a black hole, and that was the last I heard of it.
Are you paying cash, or is there a bank involved in your purchase? The bank's involved, or?
USB.
USB, okay. So they need clear title at the time of closing.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I respect Fred's comments. The attorney was, buyer's attorney recommended not closing under that, that idea.
Well, it sounds like we can't do anything anyways, because it's got to be in compliance before they're allowed to do anything. Is
Well,
that
I guess that's what
accurate?
we're trying to get, that's what the whole.
Okay, so we can bring it to compliance, and then we can talk about it.
If that's what you want us to
I
do.
mean,
okay.
I don't know that we can
So,
do anything that.
so you're asking him to put money into a house and he's gonna turn around and bulldoze?
No, we got to figure out a way
think
to
at
do
this,
this.
look, I think we're down to two issues, and let me clear this up with Chief. We're down to two issues at this property. So the first thing that the cars are gone, they're compliant, the meter's still ticking. I think we're still on the house, but I think it's at a level to where at the next code enforcement meeting, or the special magistrate meeting, staff will need to represent to, or request that the special magistrate hold the clock on the house, put that in abeyance, so we can kind of close it up, but it's still not, you know what I'm, put that in abeyance, and then they can do the transaction, and then you can move forward.
Well,
Or if we put the house in abeyance, then we can probably then consider the fine reductions.
Yeah, based on
So
what
that's
I'm
a two-step
hearing
process, right?
today, that won't work, because the lender is going to require that the lien be eliminated before they will make the loan.
Yeah, but we won't go down that way. If we put the code enforcement issues in abeyance and say there's none, then we can consider a lien reduction, and then that amount can be set, and then they can go close the deal and have that all done for the period of time that those code enforcement violations are in abeyance.
I mean, the talk so far has been about, why would I put new siding on a house that's going to be knocked down in 30 days? My response to that is, don't put new siding on it, knock it down. then you've accomplished what needs to be accomplished, and you can seek the fine
Yeah,
reduction.
the owner can
There's some
knock the house
background on
down.
that too, which I was trying, this thing's colorful.
So okay. We're talking about $400 a day. We can sit here for 10 days. We got $4,000 more dollars for nothing. How much hard dollars does the city have in this deal? I mean, certified letters. How much did the cities actually spend in this case? Because that's I mean, we can go up to $400,000 in 2 years. That this deal doesn't get done.
No, rough house, I would say 10 grand.
10 grand.
You've got $6,500 in taxes and probably $3,500 in.
Well, the taxes are paid separate. That's a different item. We're not asking the city to.
Yeah, those
This is
go to the
strictly-
county.
Yeah, we're looking for an amount to pay the city of Leesburg to release the code enforcement lien. That's all we're asking for.
33% of that comes to us.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 20%.
Okay, yeah, you're right, you're right.
So it's not 60, we'll get about 20%
But if,
of that.
if we don't have the authority to reduce when it's not in compliance, that's what Fred's telling me. Unless I misunderstand, I don't know what.
No, it's right in the ordinance.
Okay,
It's been there
so
for years.
if the house isn't in compliance, it doesn't matter what our hard cost is, doesn't matter what the five of us want to take, we can't do it.
So can we? The city has a demolition department that we have money in the budget. Do we have money in the budget to knock down blighted, dilapidated houses?
We went down that path, and to the city's credit, they came back and said, we spent 30 days on that. And to the city's credit, they came back and said, why are we using city tax dollars to knock down a house? We got a buyer willing to knock it down. I respected that decision. It would have been. It was a resolution we spent 30 days on.
We took that out of the.
Yeah, and I agree. I would prefer him to knock it down than the taxpayer knock it down.
And
But I think
I'm sorry to make such a big deal about it. I mean, I guess I'm just
No,
here
no,
saying,
I really
from
appreciate
a
you
common
coming.
sense standpoint, we're so close. I know it's out. It's we got ordinances and approvals, but I mean, you can see where I'm coming from. I see a big win-win. City doesn't want the property.
Well, we can get the property, and then we can bulldoze it, and then we can sell it to Holiday.
Well,
we
they
gotta
can
wait
do it
for
all
the
day
tax
long.
issue.
then I think we would take that approach across the entire city. Let's go find houses that's been sitting in.
Well, we just
bad
sold one to
shape.
CDC
I
that
know,
we
but
did
it's
that
a whole
to.
bunch more like that.
I'm just saying, there's a solution here.
There is.
Yeah, you did that about 3 lots down.
Yeah, we
Yeah, you've got.
That was right next to me.
I'm not being smart. You've got a
lot.
lot 3 down for sale for $75,000 that's been listed for a year, and it went through the city foreclosure.
Unfortunately, that should have been. Well, never mind.
Can we determine for a short period of time that the house is in compliance?
Maybe the fire chief want to burn something down for a training purpose.
Without knowing what the violations were, I'm
John,
not
you're getting
sure.
right.
Yeah,
What if we
man,
just
That's a
if we-
technical
I think this is
possibility.
crazy.
if we knocked it down with city funds,
No way.
then we could reduce the fine less.
Then why would the city have to pay for that?
'Cause we
That's
get it back.
taxpayers' money.
When you knock it down with city funds, the owner signs a form that requires a lien be placed on the property. They pay that out of the
Then they
closing.
could pay
Dan, we-
us after they close.
And we're happy to do that. We spent 30, 45 days
Yeah.
trying to do
We
that.
can put a contract together with the seller on that.
So we knock
that
it
we'll-
down,
we'll
it closes,
demolish
they pay
it, and
us.
at closing, he repays us.
Yeah.
I guess
That
I
works.
came in here with one idea was, could we just put some money in escrow? And have some assurances. I mean, that was one idea. I think I talked to somebody in the city staff, said, put a clawback provision. I'm just trying to keep it simple.
It sounds like we've got to get the lien going from the
Right.
bank, and we can't
That's
get the
the
lien going
problem.
without being in
Yeah,
compliance,
and-
because our ordinance don't allow it.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us a long time to change an ordinance if we wanted to. So.
And that's why I'm here
We'll get
tonight.
it out.
I've been working on this for 2.5 months. I heard new ordinance. I thought, okay, another month or two is going to go by.
Freddie,
And
special interest.
I just saw a win-win. I spoke with Al today. He said, why don't you come to the city commission meeting? Okay. Yeah. We are not looking for preferential treatment or anything like that.
What's it going to cost you to demo the house?
I got 2 estimates. One was 15,000 from Logan, and one was 25,000 from Paquette.
I can beat that.
I'm about to say, can we get?
I mean, my suggestion
you
would
gotta-
be,
you gotta
my
guide us.
suggestion at this stage would be, let my staff get in touch with the seller, or if we can work through Mike and the seller, we'll put together an agreement to get the house demolished, okay, and we can have that back to you guys. Or if it's underneath a certain amount, you can probably just give me the authority. If it's underneath 10 grand, you can give me the authority to do that tonight. I'll go get the house knocked down. And then in the interim, I would think to give us some flexibility. Chief, when does the special magistrate meet?
February 20th.
Yeah.
So by February 20th, perhaps I can have the house down, and then we can approach her
But how would the reduction work then? If we lift this,
Well, come February 20, let's say the house is down,
Because
okay? Let's say the house is down by February 20th. Now the property is now going to be in compliance because the house is gone and the cars are gone. The house is now in compliance. On the 20th, Ms. Schulte can reduce the fines with or without your permission.
okay, but I'm saying then, how does he get the
Then
lien
they
lifted
close.
and to be able to get the money to us, because he's obviously
Let's
wanting
just
money.
say something happens like this. We knock the house down before the 20th. We go before the 20th. Ms. Schulte then reduces the fines down to $85,000. He then sets in escrow $85,000, closes the deal, and when the deal is closed, Holiday has it, and the city gets $85,000, and the seller gets zero.
All right, I support this.
I'll throw out one other thought, accomplishing this thing of maybe we can use some money to do some improvements, and I don't know the numbers, but let's say it's gonna cost $5,000 for us to tear that house down. That's gonna save Mr. Peter,
Don.
Don, it's gonna save Don $5,000 there. So his contract to Mr. Jones needs to increase by $5,000. And, but then, so there's $5,000 that we're gonna be spending that we've got to get back. And then let's say we reduced our fine down to $20,000. So we're looking at, plus the 5. So we're looking at $25,000. And so if we did I'd just like to see us somehow be able to connect that, then that fine gets paid out at closing to us, but then maybe we can do some sort of whatever number we're gonna reduce, that we wanna reduce it to, we do some sort of agreement with the buyer then that will do some kind of a matching grant back or whatever. If
He's already in the one that he can get 25,000 already under our current one. So, which I'd be okay raising it if he wants to do more, but that one already exists.
All right, so maybe that could probably provide some funds anyway. Okay, well,
Yeah,
never mind.
this is a great discussion. I just want, we've been through all of this. I guess that's why I'm here. And I almost regret coming now. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, but we went through all this. I really, I came charging in here because I thought, okay, I was just trying to keep it simple. And I mean, I see a win-win for everybody. City wants it cleaned up.
I think he has a scenario and a solution that'll work.
If the commission trusts
I think we should go tear it down.
Okay, the only reason I don't think we can get it done by the 20th.
What's today?
Today's the 12th. I mean, I don't even think in the private sector we can get it done by the 20th. I mean, he's got to get it. That was my only hesitation with that, Al. Otherwise,
I might be able to. We have a contractor on stand. We need to flip some resources. If the buyer can give me an agreement tomorrow, I can probably get it tore down. Be real tight, but it would be helping if the bulldozer was out there by the 20th, and I think we can at
We
least
need to
get
get
the
a
bulldozer.
contract on it. That might be enough.
I think that would probably be enough for Ms. Schulte. A contract would be enough.
She can like the idea of just putting money in escrow to protect the city?
You're not going to be able to put money in escrow to protect that. Don't go there because you're ahead of the game.
Okay.
I'll come see you tomorrow.
Okay. I'll come see
We'll
you.
work for a contract. We'll have a sidebar. I think I understand where you're in a good spot.
Thank you, Al.
And I will say that the owner, that you will have your opportunity at the code enforcement, once again, to state the case that you wanted to make tonight, and she is the one that it's going to be up to her, it's not up to us.
Right.
So make your case then about the reasons why it's unfair and what you think is fair.
I appreciate
Because it's her decision.
Thank you.
So I'll be in touch with you tomorrow.
And make sure she reduces it lower than the contract price, because that's unfair for you to walk away with nothing on your property.
Oh, big cost.
No, it's his
We'll be in
mom's
touch.
property.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to take so much time.
Not his property.
Any other public comments?
Fred.
Okay, great.
Right?
Roll call?
No, that's his mom's property. That's his mom's property.
Commissioner Dennison.
God.
Not tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Hurley.
Yes, I do. Joni Smalley, where you at? If Joni Smalley from the Leesburg Partnership could come up here, please.
Dance girl.
I think she has something to say.
Oh, no, I don't. Where's your crown?
It's under the desk.
Congratulations.
No, you kissed.
No, I'm not.
the ring. So I'd like to thank you guys for help on a light note and fun. That was the longest 5 weeks of campaigning with no reward for myself that I ever did. And I'm just happy I won King Rex. So I thought she would come up here and say, congratulations, King Rex.
Congratulations, but you wouldn't be.
And kiss the ring and all that, but that lasted a whole day. So we raised $55,300, and I think as a group we did, I don't know, we did over 100. We raised $131,000 for the partnership, the group. So I thought it was really something nice for the community, and will give us a lot of funds to continue on working. And I just wanted to thank Joni for her hard work and effort in that, and for suckering me into running. And I just had a good time. So I appreciate the efforts that we've made tonight. I think we're still on track with a lot of good things. One thing I love about us is we always we have a lot of different angles and ideas, but somehow we always find a cohesiveness to come together and get stuff accomplished. And so I think that's what makes us great. I'm ready to go home. Hope the rest of y'all are short-winded.
Commissioner Christian?
Al, you mentioned about Apostle Williams. He's in the back there. Did you need anything from the commission?
I think we're good.
Okay. I just want to also thank the commission on the donation of the property on Pamela Street. I'm very familiar with the property and the neighborhood. Walked that many times. And so we're confident the CDC will do a wonderful job, and as always, with our partners with the city of Leesburg. And we don't have a home buyer yet, so there's no 21-year-old girl moving into that house. She's on 6th Street. And I do echo our residents' opinion that if there's any neighborhood in Leesburg that anyone feels unsafe, then I think then we're not doing a very good job. So I think we need to do a better job to make sure every neighborhood is safe. I know there's a lot of break-ins out in Sleepy Hollow, people opening car doors, and I think our chief did a very good job alerting our residents to do one thing, lock the door. So I think as a city we need to be vigilant, keep our eyes open. If something looks unusual, we need to make a phone call. So I want to commend our police department for being proactive and letting our residents be aware that we do have people that's out in every neighborhood that's out to do wrong, and we all should be vigilant in any neighborhood that we live in. So that's all I have on that.
Commissioner Bowman?
I wanted to just recognize Apostle Williams, Pastor Williams as well, and just express my support for that. I've talked with him about it, and I think that's great for the senior housing that he's proposing to do there, and we can work with them to do that. A couple things real quick. I bring up again on the trailers and things that are parked in yards. Particularly in my neighborhood where I live in Beverly Shores, it just seems there's more and more of them. And I understand people are trying to make a living, and they've got work trailers and things that they're bringing in. But there's people in the neighborhood just right across the street from some of these that they're trying to sell their houses, and anything that affects the property values and what a buyer might think coming in. I think that's a negative with everything we're doing and all the money we're spending in to make Leesburg better, that we ignore some of the codes that we have, and these things happen. I would like to see us enforce those. The other one is that the one there, he has trailers in his front yard, and he built a TED shed on his side yard all the way up to the front of the house, and I don't know, nothing's been addressed on that yet, and I'll bring it up again. And if our codes allow that, then I'd like to see us, which I don't think they do, but if our codes allow it, I think we need to look at amending our codes that you can't put a 0 lot line shed next to your house. I mean, it's literally maybe that far between the house and the shed, and about that far between the shed and the neighbor. So, and there's no way that fire or anybody can get back there. So I think Al has the information on that. But the trailers, and there's just more and more boat trailers, work trailers, and they just keep coming. And so I would like to see us enforce those. Back to the Susan Street thing, since we've talked about it a little bit tonight, I'll bring up again that the owner of the Palm Plaza has offered to donate the property behind Palm Plaza to the city. If we cooperated with him, it would provide a second entryway into Susan Street. I would like to see us look into that and see whether that's something that's feasible to do it, so you could access Susan Street field right off of 441 or right off of 27, So I bring that up again. I think it would benefit him as well. I think if we to have a road come through there with the commercial development there, but it also would be a benefit to us as a city for getting access to the park there. And that's all I have this evening.
Mayor Rubin?
Well, congratulations, Commissioner Hurley.
King Rex.
King Rex.
King Rex.
And I hesitate to say this because he does not need a boost to his ego, but he raised more money than any King candidate ever. So congratulations, you did a lot of really good, and of course congratulations to Joni for putting up with Jay and having a great Mardi Gras. But it was a really great event for Leesburg. I had another lady question again about the electric car charging station by the library. I know you were looking into it. If you could follow up on that again. I will not be at the next meeting. I'm going to be in D.C. with the FMPA for our legislative rally. So this might be your chance, Bob, on the grant program. You can go big while I'm gone.
I got your back.
Go ahead, come on, man.
And I was actually going to bring up code enforcement and what a great job I thought they were doing because I read the last minutes and I was like, wow, they got the mattress people. I don't know if you guys saw. They got like a $10,000 fine on the mattress guy for those signs. You'll notice they moved all their signs into DeVary's. Yeah. But that's okay. They're out of Leesburg, so good for us. And then also, the county is now seeming to take an interest in addressing the homeless problem. It might just be because it's an election year, but maybe it's real, and so might want to reach out and see if anything's going to happen there.
But on that note, we've already had some meetings with Livestream, so we're talking again. So and that's kind of three-way: Livestream, county, Leesburg, and all the cities actually.
And I had a great compliment. I think we all got it, but just want to publicly recognize the building department. They for someone reaching out and saying, well, what a great job they did and how easy they were to work with. And then the owners with the mall also were very complimentary of everyone in the city and says that they couldn't believe it after working in South Florida. The idea that the commissioner would even agree to meet with them was like mind-boggling to them. So kudos to our staff. And with that, meeting adjourned.